Hi there, welcome to South Coogee. I'm here with Luke this beautiful morning. We're going to be looking at some of the ingredients you can find right on the coastline as part of the foraging series. We just stopped.
These aren't the Warrigal greens.
These are not Warrigal greens.
There's some traffic coming up.
Yeah.
You need a traffic director behind you. That's all right.
Influences in the wild. We're still walking down here though. Coogee's great. No, it is. It's you know, being right on the doorstep of this like environment is pretty amazing in a place like Wills here. You've obviously got like the ocean, and there are quite popular walks for people around this kind of area around the coast, but you're kind of on the doorstep of like, you know, marine life, and there's obviously like a lot of both native and introduced kind of like flora to kind of explore and just be at one with.
Some nasturtiums down here. Oh, there's some warrigals as well.
Awesome.
Right. Is that native to Australia?
It is. So yeah, really high source of, it's almost like a spinach, if you think of it like that, the way that you would prepare it normally if you were going to use it in a culinary sense, but definitely has a nice sort of greenness and marininess. Obviously we're close to the sea here, so it's going to have some of that salinity to it as well. So we'll just take some of this newer growth, we'll cut it off just above sort of where the node is of the plant as well, which will give it a good opportunity to grow back. You can already see that there's a little stem growing from there as well, so we know that that's
So the node is just above the last leaf to grow, is that right?
Yeah. So it should naturally, you can see there's another one there popping up from the node just above the stem as well. So it'll grow back nicely from there as well with you know, some conserved trimming of it. So
fair enough.
Cool. All right.
Awesome.
Warrigal greens.
Amazing.
Let's keep on moving.
Sure. I think the number one thing we need to remember when it comes to going out foraging is that probably 98% of the things you'll find are not going to be edible or usable. I think that you know, it's a skill that you develop over time and an awareness that you get, but I think it's a constant learning experience as well. So it always is exciting and fresh. Any luck, Sam?
No, it doesn't look like it. We might need to head back up onto the path.
It's looking a bit hectic down there now.
Yeah.
All right. When it comes to foraging and wild ingredients, we need to be mindful of the fact that things are limited. We can't treat them like a supermarket and go out and take as much as we would like. We really need to be much more thoughtful about what we're picking and making sure that the plant is going to continue to grow and thrive and be available for yourself to pick, but other people to pick as well. The other thing that I think is really starts becoming ingrained in you is when you are out and picking and understand the finiteness of resources, it changes the way that you look at the other ingredients that you bring into the bar as well. I think you act in a little bit more of a mindful way. You don't want to go out, pick a whole bunch of stuff and then end up wasting half of it as well. So philosophy behind foraging and being mindful of resources and taking care of nature is something that we really need to disseminate amongst the bartending community as well, because we have a tendency to be a little bit wasteful sometimes.
So I think we've got some up here, Luke.
All right, brilliant. Yeah, that's a really nice patch of warrigals. You can see it's going all the way under the bridges as well. We'll get some of this. It's obviously off the footpath, so we shouldn't get too much activity of people walking around down here.
Awesome. And in a patch like this, how much do we want to be taking?
Look, I think you always want to be pretty mindful about not taking too much of the products that you're finding. Obviously, you know, you don't want to do anything that's going to be damaging to the plant and taking too much. And the other thing is as well, like with a lot of these ingredients, you're not going to need a heap to make a delicious drink. Obviously, if you're scaling things up, you're probably going to need to find multiple sources of something like the warrigal greens. But on the most part, you know, just be exercise a little bit of caution and a little bit of consideration for whoever might come along next as well.
Understood.
So yeah, the warrigal greens, well, it's one of those native vegetables to a couple of different countries. I think you were saying earlier that New Zealand as well?
Yeah, correct. Yes, I did a bit of research in advance of our trip today, and in New Zealand we call this New Zealand spinach. Maybe not the most inventive of names, but like an integral part of like the native cultures. Diets, and it's interesting, it's actually one of the few products when European settlers first came to Australia that was exported and cultivated around the globe. It can be found in a couple of places, a couple of countries and continents now.
Yeah, packed with nutrients, packed with vitamins. It's going to be something that's really effective in terms of getting those vitamins and essential ingredients that you're going to need in a survival sort of situation as well. We have the luxury of making cocktails with it now though.
Happy days.
Awesome. I think it's probably enough for the Warrigal Greens for now. I mean, we're right on the doorstep of this coastline, so we should probably have a little bit more of a look around and see what else we can find.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
When you are looking for places to forage, it's really important to think about not only the ingredients that are growing in these places, but the overall conditions of the places themselves. You don't want to be picking in areas that are really built up, close to main thoroughfares, by railway tracks, or other places like dog parks where you don't know what's been on the plant before you get to it as well.
Came here in advance and actually found a little spot, but one of the things we're going to talk about now is the importance of plant identification. There's another plant down here which Luke's going to talk us through, which looks quite similar to Nasturtium, and it's important to make sure that when you're putting anything in your own mouth or serving it to guests that you identify the plant correctly.
100% agree with that. I think that, we definitely want to avoid eating things that could potentially be poisonous or even at the worst, not delicious.
Exactly right.
All right, let's duck down here.
Cool.
So yeah, we can get some of these flowers. We'll take some of the leaves as well, like you said, some of the smaller leaves. But these flowers, we're just sort of starting to get them popping now. We're moving into spring, so we'll see more of these through spring and summer as well. So for now, we'll just take the two. I mean, each of these leaves is going to have a nice sort of pepperiness to it as well. Work well as a garnish or as an ingredient too. Beautiful. And then maybe just some of these smaller leaves too.
Right. So when it comes to the leaves, is there any kind of rule when it comes to the size?
Look, I think we're better off picking some of the ones that are smaller. They're going to have a bit more intensity of flavour. As they start to get a bit bigger, they lose some of that flavour as well. So yeah, I would say take some of the smaller leaves. One thing we do need to be mindful of with the nasturtiums, the leaves themselves actually look quite a bit like some of the other plants that are
down here
growing around as well. Ah, here we go, exactly, right amongst them all. So you can see, well, they look
pretty much the same thing, right?
They look very similar when you put them side by side, but you can see the nasturtium leaves has much more of a matte sort of finish to it, whereas these ones are a little bit glossier. It's always good to look at the underside as well. You can see that it's a little bit paler on the bottom of the nasturtiums, a little bit greener on this one as well, and the veining isn't as pronounced too. It is really important that we sort of identify what it is we're picking prior to picking it, just because you don't want to have a bag full of something you can't use and have destroyed a plant in the process. So obviously you want to do a visual identification. Very, very similar. You wouldn't want to be foraging this in the dark because you'd be in all sorts of trouble. But then you can also have a bit of a smell of the aroma. That one smells sort of just grassy.
Yeah, it doesn't have that kind of peppery kind of aroma, which Nasturtium is like known for.
That's it. Yeah, and then you can smell the nasturtium, it's really peppery as well. Much fresher and peppery. So yeah, I think we'll grab a few more of these little nasturtium leaves. Obviously being mindful not to take too much and conserve the plant, but also conserve it for anyone else who might be foraging these areas too. Let's get to work.
Amazing. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's some orange ones down here. There's a big, beautiful yellow one up behind. When thinking about potential opportunities for kind of drink inspiration, always the smartest way to kind of start is think, what does this have some kind of similarity to in flavour and style to things that you're normally using in drinks? The first thing that kind of comes to mind is mint. Could be like an equivalent swap here.
We have made distillates of this before, which works on a really wonderful aromatic sense, or even just as simple as macerating, and like a neutral grain spirit will bring out some of the kind of peppery notes. But this could be as simple as, you know, a handful of fresh nasturtium leaves in a shaker, shaken to make a, you know, a south side style drink. But yeah, there's lots of opportunities. And then obviously the leaf itself, just used as a garnish on the top of a martini, is a really simple and elegant way to present a drink.
When you're heading out foraging, you've got a couple of key essentials that you want to take with you. Take a nice little tote bag, take some plastic containers to put your picked ingredients into as well. Take a nice pair of sharp scissors, which you want to wash before and after you take them out so you don't get any cross-contamination. You also want to take a bottle of water. Now that is an absolute essential. If you do taste something that doesn't taste quite right, you want to make sure that you're able to wash that taste out of your mouth as well.
Just before we jump down here, we've found some eastern pigface, which we're going to go through. I think it's really important though to talk about safety. We are right on the coastal edge. We're about to jump down onto a space which has, you know, a cliff on the side of it. So it's really important to make sure that when you are foraging or finding any of the ingredients, that safety is paramount. So we'll jump down there, but you know, think about it. Keep your feet firmly planted. If you're moving around in areas, try and keep 3 points of contact at all time. Seems simple, but we don't want anyone falling off the edge of the coast. Alrighty, so this product sitting in front of us here is known as Eastern Pigface. As the name suggests, there's also a Western Pigface. This comes from a similar family. It's a product that's more widely known in like the culinary world, known as Karkala, which comes from the south of Australia. This product is great to use. I mean, at this point in time of the year, just as the flowers are starting to show, it is still quite astringent. So it's going to be important to think about how we process this.
Yes, having tasted this a moment ago, it definitely does have a real dryness to it as well. So yeah, the way that we prepare them and use them for a cocktail is definitely going to vary depending on the time of season as well. They'll sort of ramp up, get a little bit sweeter as we get into those warmer months as well. Being that it's growing coastally, it's going to have a lot more salinity to it. Whereas if some of this stuff, I know it's certainly growing around Surrey Hills and has been planted around Surrey Hills, it's not going to have that same terroir, I suppose, in terms of the flavour of the product as well. But yeah, this looks really nice. Let's get some of this.
Amazing, cool. So I think it's important just when you are preparing any of this, just to be aware. As you can see, there's some of the stuff which has the kind of red blotches to it. This is definitely going to be the more bitter end. So you're looking for the really kind of lush green elements. Traditionally, the flowers were eaten as well, and in spring and summer it has like a small little like slightly pink to reddish fruit, which apparently tastes like strawberries. I haven't had the pleasure just yet, but I think we might be a little early in the year. So we're going to start with some of the leaves, and we're going to look to find a way to prepare those.
I think a little bit of this is probably going to go a long way as well, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah.
Alrighty. So, Eastern Pigface here. We are just on the cusp of spring at the moment, so this plant is just starting to flower. As we move further into like the warmer seasons, you'll find that the flesh will become juicier. Right now, if you were to bite into this, as I think Luke did just before,
I did.
It is pretty astringent. So there are different ways in which we can process different elements that we've picked up today. What do you think we could do with this one, Luke?
Look, I think that this probably pulls to mind using it as a garnish in place of something like an olive or something like that. So I think pickling these is going to retain that nice kind of crunchy texture that it has, and some of that fresh green flavors. But it's also going to have a little bit more longevity as well, and we can add some other flavors into the pickling brine as well if we want to put some more flavors into the product as well.
Amazing. I think this is the last spot where we're going to be stopping at today in South Coogee. From here, we're going to be going a little bit closer to Wills, where we'll end up a bit later today. And we're going to try and find a couple of other ingredients. There's a couple more spots I want to show Luke, and then we're going to get back to the bar. Yeah.
Yeah, these are all for